going on, guys? Welcome to the Wednesday night live stream. In today's seriously salty science edition, far overdue since we've had the three of us on together, so should be fun today. I'm slightly sick, so sorry about my slightly raspiness, but we'll be good otherwise. How you doing, O? You always like
I'm good.
freeze,
Oh, I'm good.
freeze
I'm good.
mid
I'm good. I'm good. I'm
shock.
sorry. I thought we were doing that. I thought we were all. You guys said freeze, and then you guys kept going, and I'm just sat there like the crazy one. But I'm good. I'm
I
good.
think I think we must say, "Are we ready?" And oh, here's freeze.
Pretty much goes for the frozen. All of my favorite people. Hey, Alyssa, how you doing? Welcome. Paris Reef Shop, welcome. Reef Theory. Reefing
Oh
with
man, I
O.
forgot to even pull up the YouTube, so I can't even see the chat.
I'll relay the good questions if they come up.
Oh, good.
Yep. So how you guys doing? It's been a while.
I'm good. I'm great. I have my coffee, so I'm good.
Cheers
I
to
have
that.
my coffee, and I have my 10-year-old asking me if I need anything else before he goes upstairs. I'm the luckiest mom ever.
It's trained well. You're like, refreshments for your stream, Mom. Let's get you some fresh coffee. Keep it going. That's a
I
pretty
was talking earlier about the things that rely on me for life. I think I might rely on my kids for life.
good... I mean, it goes both ways, right?
Yeah.
Can they feed the tank consistently? That's when you've made it.
He can feed the tank. It's the consistently part that
Oh, I same here.
I will be impressed if you can get them to do water changes for you.
I don't trust that. I don't trust anybody to touch my tank in that kind of capacity.
I don't even trust myself.
That's why you don't do enough of them.
Same. I trust myself to take too much water out and then not have enough salt water to finish filling it back up.
So you know what? My secret is I used to pump the water down the drain. There's so many times I do that, Brett. I used to pump the water down the drain. Now I pump it in a 5-gallon bucket, or I save some in a 5-gallon bucket, so I have overage because I almost always need it.
That's smart.
So
Matching
many times
buckets.
I've left myself short. So many times I've left myself short, and then I have to mix up another quick batch to like top off.
How big is your tank again?
150 plus sump, so probably 165, 70.
Yeah, I think for me, I do it so infrequently, and I keep telling myself I'm gonna get better at it. But I do it so infrequently that I forget where I stopped it last time, and I'm like, I think this is about right, and I keep stopping it right at that line that I shouldn't, as
Yeah.
opposed to a little bit higher.
That's fair. When I do the manual ones, I got 2 matching brutes. And this is key. Like the 35-gallon ones or whatever they are, 32, 35. And you just pick the same like ridge in the bucket to like fill up your new water too and your bad water too.
See, I dump mine directly into the sink, so it would probably help if I did it that way, but I don't.
Yeah.
Put a bucket. So put a bucket in the sink, pump the water into it, so you have a little extra left over. So you have 5 gallons of leeway. That's what I do. You have 5 gallons of overage. So the bucket is just going to overflow into the sink, but you have a full 5-gallon, ready.
That's smart.
Or if the sink is
That
not
is
big
wise.
enough, just get a 3-gallon bucket from Home Depot or Lowe's. So you have 3 gallons of overages. So that's
And
that's
then
a
I can
good
put
way
a
to do it.
valve in it, so if I have plenty, I can just open it up and let it dump out into the sink, and I don't have to pick it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like it. That's a wise idea. You have your bonus restocking water.
Oh, that's good advice. Have you ever told that to someone before?
No, because I probably stole it from someone.
Still, like, I wish someone had stolen it and told me to do that sooner.
I think I've been doing it for so long. I didn't think it was anything special. But I just think it's from my stupidity of always taking out too much water. So
You know what I used to do, and I should probably get back to doing this because it was perfect, is I would take my ATO pump and put it in my saltwater container and used my skimmer to pull water out. So as the skimmer was pulling yucky water, clean water was being put in, and I knew like it wasn't going to overflow.
Nice.
So when I do chemical, I haven't done this in a while.
That's
but
what
when
I
used to
do
do
that thing.
chemically, and you tune the skimmer and you put in a 5-gallon bucket and you turn off the ATO and you just keep putting salt water back to like make up the difference.
Yeah,
That's kind of.
I've done that post chemi clean too. Works well.
I'm trying to. Here we go. I muted the tab, and now I can look for this and look at the chat because I feel like we're just on the phone talking, and I forgot that there were people watching us.
I know I've said this to Dev before, but since you were so impressed by my bucket method, I upgraded. So I know people in the chat are gonna think I'm crazy, but we always talk and say the size of the tubing you use or the pipe size has a lot to do with flow. We all know that. I think it's science. It's easy for me to understand, but I didn't realize how much. All right, I didn't realize how much. So I used to use like 1/2-inch tubing with my CJ Ultra Zero, and then I changed it to 3/4 inch, and my gosh, like the difference in flow rate and the amount of water I'm pumping out is.
Yeah.
Are you pumping
Like,
out like a ton more?
Oh, the first time I did it, I left the Ultra Zero a little too deep into the tank, and I ended up pumping out way more than I should. But it makes water changes now between emptying 50 gallons and putting 50 gallons back in. It's like a 15-20 minute process now.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I think both me and Deb are in the position where anything we can save time on is a good choice.
No, I pretty much do what Oda's now too. The Ultra Zero with the Python hose. If I want to drain the tank fast, I pop that in the tank and let it pump water into the one brew bin, and then I already have the second brew bin made up. And then once it's done, I just pop the little Ultra Zero with the Python little hose with the hook on it back on the tank and let it refill the tank. And then my dirty water one has wheels on it, so I wheel that to the bathroom. And then once the one bin's done, I go dump the pump in the next bin and let it pump it down the drain. So all I had to do is wheel the one bin to the bathroom and pump it out.
Where do you store your brute cans?
Normally my shed, but they've been on my deck for the last little while.
So do you like...
I have a power head and a heater that basically just lives in the bucket, and then the Ultra Zero.
Okay.
I live in an apartment, so it's in one of my closets. Like my kid, I have a closet that I just keep my kids' like school clothes in. And at first, there was a lot of space above the bucket, and over time, as my kids have gotten bigger, you get new uniforms. Slowly, like it's almost touching. But yeah, I keep it in. I do have a power head to it, but to mix, I use the same Ultra Zero. I just turn it on its side. It makes a ton of noise, so it can annoy you. But I turn it on its side and it mixes, and then I have a union, so I connect my little apparatus. And I use clear tubing. I used to use black tubing, but now I use clear because you can just see the water, see if there's any clogs or anything. So it's literally just nothing fancy, just Home Depot unions. And then I built like I'm going to show you, but I just use PVC and built like a hook because I have a Euro brace and it just stays on. Actually, just give me a sec. Let me go get it. Show and tell.
All right. It sounds fancier than my Python hook now.
Did he leave us?
He just turned his camera off. He'll be back.
Okay. I totally misunderstood what was going on there. I had the water mixing station outside, and it only is 35 gallons. And I've been saying for years I'm going to redo it, but finding the time to redo it has proven.
You should get a bigger one. Does it need to be fancy? This goes over.
Oh, that's nice.
That is fancy. Use color pipe.
Yeah. Well, you can see. Well, my plumbing is red and gray, and you can see that by the time I thought of this, it was after, and I just went to Home Depot. I was like, I'm not buying expensive BRS unions for my water change. You need a valve to shut off, and water just came out. And then here is my hose. this connects to the I learned that if you use 45 degrees, it gives you like a little bit more angle, like flexibility. So that's what,
Yep.
especially when I'm using the change, and then this connects to the Ultra Zero.
Nice. Perfect.
Yeah.
Easy peasy.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
And then I also have another one of this where if I need to extend it, so there might be, I might decide, listen, Dev, I want you to cut this out, but you guys can see I'm by the window. And in some instances, there's an alley behind me with a big like sewer drain. So most of the time I just
I've heard this
pump it
before.
outside. So, you know, like
Just
don't
out-
call
out.
anybody on me. But then I have an extension to this where if I need to put it to the bathroom, I just use it. So this is 25 feet and then I can
Mhm.
extend it a little bit more. So yeah, it works and it does the job and it's easy.
You just gotta time your water changes when it's raining and just put like a little sprinkler adapter on the outside. No one will be
Oh.
the wiser.
Oh, one thing I didn't say, the reason for this, also the secondary reason for this is
Hmm.
when you put it through the window, so it sprays it away from the building because I have a neighbor downstairs on one side didn't, and it was landing on our AC because we all have window ACs in New York. So, you know, just saying, like you have to consider all the possibilities when you're reefing with space. But listen, it works, man. 3/4 hosing.
Yep.
This takes me really quickly to do water changes. I love it, man.
No, that's awesome. So, interesting what people do with their wastewater. I'm just reading the chat right now. Like Alyssa's saying she uses it for laundry. You know, Phil's like, yep, I use it to the garden hose to water the plants. There was
With
another
the salt water?
no, like the RODI wastewater.
Oh. I do that too.
I should do.
Oh,
some-
you collect it. Oh, I don't pay.
No,
for
no,
water.
no. I let mine go out to where my plants are,
Mhm.
and so it's like a lot of plants that like water a lot, like a rain garden type thing. So it shoots out there, and it kind of like fills that, and the plants like it.
Thanks. There's
Imagine the nutrients, the TDS of the nutrients in that. Ooh, they must love it.
probably.
I don't think my TDS coming in is that high though. I think it's like 40.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Mine just goes into the washer drain because that's the only thing I have to do with it. The problem here is like because of winter, it's harder to have it that half of year when it's a few months when it's super cold out.
oh, Deb.
Are you okay?
I'm alive. Yeah, so
As
that's
he dies on the live stream with all of us watching in horror.
yeah. I've seen other people do it with like into like fish ponds and stuff, which is a really cool use for it. But
Oh wow! I thought you were gonna say I've seen other people do it. I thought you were gonna say die on stream. I thought that's where you were connected. Dev, I was worried for a minute. If you do the replay,
like-
you're gonna see my eyes wide. I was like, what?
I'll watch that
Peace
later.
out, y'all.
Sorry.
Hey, Smoyer. Hi, Elisa. Hi, everybody. Phil said something earlier that made me laugh, but I can't remember what it was.
Yeah. He was saying he has a quick disconnect to his waste that hooks up to a garden hose to water his plants. He said water is a fortune in California. So yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, so mine is all in the garage, and I have like a little hole that like the waste RDI goes out to where my little rain garden is. It's all cute. And then I use gravity, and there's a line that runs from the RDI underneath the house into my reef tank to a float valve. And as the float valve needs water, obviously it like fills it up. That's all I do with my ATO, nothing special. And then when I need to make salt water, I have a line that runs from my RDI container at the top to my saltwater bin on the bottom. And I turn a valve, it fills it up. I pour the salt in, I let it mix, and then I have this tubing that's connected there that's like on a like wrapped up thing.
Mhm.
And I can take my Python, I like stir the water, I let it go directly into the drains out. I bring my water hose in for my saltwater container, and I hook it over. I have the Python hook thing. I hook it over and let it fill up.
Nice.
Yeah.
One of the
When it's
go for it.
you go ahead, Dev. This is
Oh.
your show.
No, not mine. Go for it. Just one thing that one of my LFSs had I thought was brilliant for his display tank. In his basement, he had his mixing bins, and up through he drilled a hole right behind the tank through the floor, and he had a valve that come up kind of like your little U over the tank. So he literally just flicked a switch, turned a pump on to refill for his water change. I was like, that is cool.
Ooh.
You know what? I wish I was so ballsy to. Because I have a hole in the wall. My wife isn't here when you saw me looking, so I can talk freely now. I'm alive, guys. I was thinking of
stopping you.
doing
All
that.
alive.
I was thinking of doing that because man, it was. But I think my water changed. If I didn't figure out that 3/4 inch hosing, tubing is like makes my water changes easy. I was thinking of doing that, of like running 1/2 inch plumbing and just being able to just plug a pump in and you can refill. I was gonna do that, but I think I'm okay for now.
Yeah.
I think I'm good. I think it's so simple, and the fact is, I use instant ocean salt, which is cheap now. Man, I love the fact that water changes are.
Someone told me instant ocean salt is gotten pricier
It has.
recently.
Ooh, but I only buy. Oh, yes, it has. But I wait up. I wait until it's on sale at Petco, then I get it for like $35-$38. And I buy it until I don't know what to do with it. So I live in an apartment building, and guys,
How big is your apartment? You always say this, but the amount of stuff in your apartment, like in my head, it's got to be a giant apartment.
It's not a giant apartment, but in the hallway, like there are 2 buckets of salt, so you know a reefer lives here.
It's like a bench. You just put like a pretty pillow on top. You're like, here's the shoe bench.
Yeah, no, when you come in the apartment, there's a shoe bench and there is a bucket of salt with shoes on it. On my fire escape, tucked into the corner, there is a bucket of salt, which I'm about to bring in because you shouldn't block the fire escape. And FYI, I've left the salt out there all winter before, and as long as it's sealed and you never open it, it stays. Moisture doesn't get in. So I buy this bad boy when it's on sale, man, and I keep it for because water changes. Like I like the fact that cost is not a factor when I'm doing water changes now. So instant ocean for the win. And then a friend of mine, my wife's best friend, he plants. So he comes and takes all the buckets. I'll keep him for him, and he comes and takes the buckets and he uses them. I don't know what he plants with, but he's excited. He's excited to come get all the buckets. So I'm not throwing them away.
Perfect. Someone in the chat said Christmas lights on the salt bucket in the hall. I was going to say you could just stack them into a Christmas tree shape and decorate it and sneak some more in the
Smoyer,
house.
that's my club vice president. He needs to be the president. I was just telling them earlier before the stream, Smoyer, I'm like, yeah, I should give up on everything that doesn't pay me or rely on me for life. Smoyer does it all anyway.
Nice.
Yeah. IO and Reef, everything has gone up, but Petco and when it's on sale. So I typically will do, again, guys, not saying, just want to give a disclaimer, like O's not advocating doing anything, but I'm a Petco person. Up until like a couple weeks ago, my wife wasn't. So Petco was giving like
What's wrong with Petco?
No, it's nothing. But I'm saying my wife wasn't a user yet. So Petco was giving 40% off for new users. So just saying, I let my wife sign up, and then, she
and then
bought
bought all the instant ocean. Oh my God! Look at you.
Yeah.
There was another time where you can subscribe. There was a subscribe and save. So I subscribed and said, hey, ship me the next one a year later. So I subscribed and got just saying.
Oh, that's smart. I might on the Black Friday sales coming up. I think I'm convinced I need to order like 8 buckets of salt.
Petco has a thing. I know Petco has a thing. My Petco in Union Square, New York, has a thing where you pay them $10 for a bucket. They call it bucket sale. And then everything in the bucket is like 30, 40, 50% off. You can fit in the bucket.
You can put a bucket inside of a bucket.
Hey, like one time I was like, do you get salt? The guy's like, I don't know, but I'll try. And the salt worked.
Nice.
Like technically you can't fit the salt because it's a 5-gallon bucket. Hey,
you get fits.
Listen, guys, I know Petcos aren't, but there's things like seaweed, There's algae scrapers. If you're a quarantine person, you can get some fish from Petco. Um, my Petco has yellow tangs that are usually like um, yellow tangs that are. So what I learned is that if you have a saltwater person at Petco and they take a little care, you can find some deals. So you'll have Biota yellow tangs for 250, but then they have sales when they're about half price, so you get them for 125. My 3 yellow tangs, I got them a couple years ago for $80 when they were on sale. Your Petco, and again, go inside and make sure you know your Petco guys. They can actually custom order something for you, and you might not. As far as I know, you're not on the hook to buy it. So each Petco does its own order. So you can tell them, like I've had them order fish for me, and then I go in and the fish doesn't look good. I'm like, I'm not taking it. So guys, like Petco, I love my LFS, and my LFS was just calling me. So Mike, I didn't pick up, but Mike, if you're watching this, still love you, buddy. But
He was
Petco,
watching. He's mad at you. Oh,
he probably is. But um,
I can tell. He called me and told me that he's mad at you.
But yeah, Petco guys, like look for the I stock up when you see specials. Like the other day, I forgot what it was, man. Like when something's on sale right now, I don't debate it.
Just buy now.
Yeah, you just buy it and stock up and save it. I don't need any 2-part. I don't need any RODI supplies. I don't need any carbon. I'm going through so much. I didn't think I needed Kalkwasser for a year, but now I probably need it because I'm going through it so fast. But yeah, when the stuff's on sale, guys, like just buy it.
That's
You know what I did?
Yep.
I got, you know how like the RODI filters, like the carbon filters and stuff. I bought the giant box that BRS sells of like 40 or 50 or something. And I have a crap load of them, and I think I've changed them like twice. Apparently I didn't need 40 or 50.
Oh, I bought a box a while back too. It's like a lifetime supply. It's good.
Yeah, that's essentially what I have. I have a lifetime supply of RDI filters.
That's good. Okay. Right. So we don't
one,
have
one
Petco
last thing about me shilling. One last thing about me shilling in the US. So guys, I know I say Petco because Petco is it's around the corner from work. It's easy for me to get to, but you guys should look at like Chewy. Like Chewy sometimes has deals. PetSmart, for you guys that are around like certain big cities in the Northeast and you have PetSmart, that like they have the subscribe and save or some of those things.
I have some inside knowledge about Chewy. So Chewy, was I telling you this earlier? Oh,
no, you weren't, and I'm now disappointed.
So Chewy recently hired an aquarium expert, and I know it's exciting, isn't it? Joe Haiduka, probably said his name wrong. Great guy, love him. He is like the best, and he's working on making Chewy be a little bit more user friendly for aquariums.
Nice.
Right now, like you can enter all your animals into Chewy.com, but it adds stuff like weight, size, medications for each animal. And we don't necessarily need to do that for the aquarium. So he is changing that format so it makes more sense for aquariums. So that way they can help us a little bit better suggesting materials we might want for our aquariums.
That's cool.
So Chewy.com should be getting better for us aquarium keepers soon.
So think about this, guys. Listen to this right now. So Chewy, Instant Ocean bucket of salt with no discount. Well, right now it's $51.50. I think they say that's 30% off. If you're a new customer, you get extra on. So if you've never bought anything from Chewy and you're a new customer, Instant Ocean for you is going to be $33.48. I think you have to pay shipping or whatever. But if you're
is there a limit?
Okay, we need to see. It's $51 as normal price. At PetSmart, it's $77.99.
So PetSmart sells it at $77, but they've never actually sold it at that price.
It's always on sale, huh?
Yeah, because I think it's always on sale. It's one of those things that's perpetually on sale.
I'm hoping Smoyer. I asked him.
Yeah.
scam. They're like,
Is
save
it
Yeah.
clean?
25%.
Is it clean? Oh,
Huh?
is Instant Ocean clean? That's the question.
I like instant. So I re. So in, I like it's cheap. Listen, if you're asking me, if price was
That's a
no
no, Joaquin.
option.
That's a no.
No, listen, it's a very nuanced answer. If price was no option, the salt I would love to use would be Brightwell. So Brightwell, if you're listening, Cat, Jeremy, wink wink. The salt I would love
I've never
to use is
used Brightwell
Brightwell.
before.
That's the salt I
Why?
love
Why
the
that one?
most because it mixes up clean, mixes up. Instant Ocean, I have to mix it overnight, and I don't have to clean the bucket as often. Reef crystals, I stay away from because I think the thing precipitates too much and it leaves my. But if you ask me what salt I would love to use, if price wasn't an option, it would be Brightwell. That's the salt for me. That's the salt of my dream. I dream about it every time water change. Like I wish this was Brightwell. But Instant Ocean does the job and it's cheap. And when I use Instant Ocean, price is not so I don't ever have to think about, oh my gosh, I got to do 100% water change and it's going to cost me $100.
Okay, so on PetSmart.ca, they have a code for 25% off right now. So I had to see if it works for salt. They only let you buy a max of 3, but it brings it from $77.99 with 25% off, so like $58. This is as cheap as I can get salt. This is in our peasant land. But so usually when it's on sale, I'll just buy whatever the max is. So it's like 3 buckets. So I might end up buying that later.
Sometimes, I'm just saying, guys, sometimes it makes sense to buy one because I'll just realize that if it might be 35% off, but the limit might be $30. So if you're buying 2, you're actually hurting yourself. So sometimes I'll buy one and get it cheap, and then I'll be like, I'll figure out the next one. But I'm on the prowl all year. So, but
$20, $19.50 a bucket off. It consistently scales up to the max of 3. I had to check.
I honestly didn't put a whole lot of thought into my salt. Whenever I first started, I had a little BioCube, and my local fish store sold salt, so I would just go in and like get a 5-gallon jug. And when I decided to start mixing my own, I just used what I was buying from them, which was Red Sea Blue Bucket, and I've pretty much been on it. I've tried a couple of other things, but I always come back to the Blue Bucket for Red Sea.
I like that. I like the Red Sea Blue Bucket. It's fine. I just like Brightwell better. Just it's
I would try it.
Yeah. I like Brightwell better.
I don't know if this was just the batch I had, but I used Brightwell for quite a while. And I found if it was warm, it mixed super clean. But if it was cold, then I had like weird, like surfacey stuff. So I don't know if that was just a certain batch of that. But yeah, if it was warm, super clean. But if it was cold, then it wasn't.
That's interesting. It seems like something isn't dissolving completely.
Well, sometimes if you look at the instructions, like I know even Red Sea, like if you're using the Red Sea purple bucket, there's specific instructions, like you mix it cold, then you bring it up to temperature. So maybe, yeah, I don't know, but I tend to fill up my RODI, leave the water there. So I tip it. My salt water when I'm ready to mix is never cold. It's always room temperature-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Phil says there's instructions to say you need to warm the water. So there you go.
Yeah.
If you follow the instructions, it's super clean.
Yeah.
I'm very good at following instructions. That's why I'm such a good cook. As long as I have a recipe, boom.
Yeah. So in my mixing station, I never bother preheating it because you're only doing like a gallon or 2 a day. Then it's like the temperature doesn't matter. But if I'm doing a water change, then yeah, as the RODI is filling, I just pop a heater in the bottom and it warms it as it fills.
I had a heater in mine at one point, and it electrocuted me. Smoyer was actually here when it electrocuted me. Like it popped the circuit and everything.
Oh,
like it was bad. Yeah.
That's legit electrocuting.
Yeah, like it was really bad. Like I could have gotten very, very dead. As dead as they come.
Yeah.
Why? That's the second time tonight we've brought up death, but just saying.
It was just Halloween.
We're celebrating Day of the Dead.
Yep.
I don't use heaters
now I'm
anymore.
nervous about it.
I used to bring my heater from my tank to my mixing station, and there's been too many times, much more. So the tank, when I'm doing water changes, whenever my return pump turns off, like it's a cascading effect where other things turn off. So it's really not hard for me to forget. But my mixing station, sometimes I'll just forget with the heater, and then I hear like a sizzling sound.
I suspect that's what happened. I almost like guarantee there because it was like melted and stuff too.
Yeah,
I almost guarantee at some point I was filling up the tank and forgot about that and it broke itself.
yeah.
I made it break. I made it break itself.
It happens.
um,
Yeah, that's kind of the sketchy thing though, if they run dry too. Or if there's like an extreme temperature differential, then you could crack it for the glass ones.
yeah, I think so. I'm still in my mindset that eventually my tank's going to be right here beside me instead of in the other room. Which means that everything is going to be like my sump and stuff is going to be on the other side of my computer, on the other side of this wall where the garage is. Like, y'all need to know this stuff, right? But anyway, my plan is to actually put in a new garage door that will insulate in the garage better. So that way that the garage is just warm. And then I don't have to worry about a heater in the mixing container.
Okay.
Solid. Nice.
Be fine. You'll be fine.
No more electrocutions.
That's fair.
Some NSB Reef says 200-gallon Aquafella salt now, $58.
That's good.
See.
You guys get sweet deals in the States. Whenever I try and do it, I look at the shipping and then it becomes a fortune. I'm like, oh, there goes the savings.
Yeah,
That's the killer.
I know.
Poor Dev. Why do you have to live in Canada?
Silly imaginary lines.
At least it's gorgeous.
Yeah, fair. Trade-off. Aquaforce is good. Yeah, I know. I do like Aquaforce salt too. It makes it super clean.
Than said, so he had just gotten back from London and he's already making a new plan to go back to the UK. And he invited me. And like normally I have to invite myself. And so I was really excited. And I made that point in the chat and he goes, but you don't have a passport. I'm like, that's what you invited
that's what
me.
that's my friend Woody was at that event, and like early in the morning I kept getting pictures. I'm like, why is my phone beeping? Like it's not a regular beep. And it was my friend Woody, who's from London, sending me pictures of Than. So Than, he said you kept looking at him. So Than, if there was a weird like guy from London with his hat probably worn backwards and his name was Woody, and he was staring at you and taking weird pictures of you while you were answering questions, that's my friend, and apologies. And I got all those pictures. Like if somebody were to look at my phone now, they would see like weird pictures of Than. So just say it.
Well, I've seen you take weird pictures of Than, so
Oh, well. That didn't come out right, but I hear you.
you know what I'm talking about though, don't you?
Oh my gosh, can we?
I was just creeping, taking photos.
Yeah, I know.
When I was on the panel,
I got hundreds of these, Than. I got hundreds of these.
oh
of
my
you
goodness!
Yeah, and he said, oh, I don't. I think
But
Than
look
knows
how
me 'cause
good
he
Than looks.
keeps staring at me.
Than
Paparazzi.
looks so good.
I know.
I was on a panel talking, and O found Than asleep while I was talking.
Oh my god, why are you?
Because it's self-deprecating. And then O had taken some pictures of him, and O was showing Than afterwards, and Than looks right at me and he goes, "How does it feel for someone to fall asleep while you're talking?" I was like, thanks.
Nice.
I was in the middle of that, and I was like, I didn't know where that was coming from. He did say Than Than has a great. He did say Than was funny. He didn't realize he thought Than was going to be this really serious dude because the persona, the image, the video persona is like he's super serious. He said he didn't realize he was so funny.
Than's hilarious. I don't think anybody realizes.
I
how
think
funny.
so. But he said
He's also really mean.
No,
I'm not getting in the middle of this.
I don't believe that one bit.
I'm not getting in the
Than,
middle
are
of
you
this.
mean? Is he even paying attention anymore?
I'm not getting in the middle of this. Like this is
He's
between
totally
them Devin, this is them. Let's not. We're not.
See,
Very mean. That's
he's
lies.
very proud of how mean he is.
That's false advertising. I don't believe it.
I got so Reef Keeper's comments. Remember how many people fell asleep on those marathon Rico streams? The reason I find that especially funny is I was on TikTok a couple months ago, and man, the TikTok streams remind me so much of when we used to stream with Rico, because they were marathon streams and we didn't stick to reefing. We spoke about everything under the sun. So those TikTok streams can be entertaining, but man, they are long. So it's just reminded me of, you know, of when we were on YouTube streaming all day and all night. We had no lives.
Do you know what I fall asleep during? Or before it even starts? The SMAS club meetings.
Oh, I fall asleep.
We have both fallen asleep at the same time on those things, have we not?
Oh, yeah. And the one time, no, let me not say that. I'm not gonna say that. But yes, I fall asleep. So it's 10 p.m. It starts at 10 p.m. And then those guys are on the stream like talking about what are you drinking. So the minute I'm like, all right, I'm gonna make myself a drink, man, I'm out by 12 o'clock. I usually wake up in time for the duck race, though. Just saying.
I just forget it happens and go to sleep.
But I will tell you though, the last meeting, we had Salem. My gosh, I think that was the first time. And kudos to you, Salem. I don't know if you're watching, but that's the first time I was up the entire stream, like 10 to about 10 to about 3 a.m. We were there. Even Salem had to be like, all right, guys, I gotta go.
So it's like 7 o'clock the West Coast time? Did you enjoy it?
Oh yeah, it was fun. The entire stream was fun.
He's a smart kid, isn't he?
What I find weird, I don't know if I should say in this, but why is it that
but you're going anyways.
I get
I probably shouldn't say this, but
why is it that someone's been trying to explain aquabiomics to me for so long, and Salem, who's not affiliated with the product at all, is the person I feel like very quickly I'm like, all right, I'll try it. Based on your explanation and the way you said it, I'll try that. You know, like it's been even the owner.
How did he explain it that was different?
I don't know. He's like, hey, this is what I've tested. And he didn't overpromise. He's like, I don't know if it'll do that. I'm not sure it'll do that. That's a good idea. I'll test it. So it wasn't this overly promised, like, here's you can do it. He's like, I think it's cool. Here's where I think it'll be useful. Here's where I think it can go in the future. Here's, you know, like it's a good baseline for this. But he was really honest about, no, it can't do that. If you're trying to use it to do that, then I don't think it's going to be good for you. So a lot of it was, even, by the way, the entire conversation with Salem was like a really honest one where it's like, I think we should test that. We should test more of that. So it didn't overpromise. And, you know, that SCMS meeting was, I think it was our most attended SCMS meeting. So it was a good one.
I think I even might have joined one of those.
I wish I had been able to join, but I'd go to sleep. He is. I like the idea of aquabiomics, and this is what I've said all along. But it's like what to do with the data. But like I think getting in the we're at the point. Let me back up even further. So last club meeting for the Carolina Reefing community, we got onto this big thing of morph market. Are you guys familiar at all with what that is?
With who?
Give us the quick
market.
What's the quick rundown? Close notes.
So reptiles, people who keep boa constrictors, they have like this whole genetic database of snakes, and they send out stuff to get them tested. And somehow, like, you had to collect the data in the first place to be able to like look very closely to see what the slight differences are in the genetic code in order to identify which ones are going to result in what looks in the boa constrictors. And I think that's kind of where we are right now with the aquabiomics, where we're collecting the genetic data and comparing that to what we're seeing to kind of make decisions on what the bacteria profiles actually mean for the health of a tank. So I think it's like anybody who's participating in that is like super, super valuable, but I think it's just going to continue to get more and more valuable the more people participate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
obviously I don't think it's perfect, but I think what I've learned is like I think when I do it, I know exactly what to expect. It's sort of like a novelty and cool, but I don't know if there's any like full action I can take, but I think it's good to learn, right? And not go crazy. And at the end of the day, like I think one of the things Salem explained is, and I think most reef keepers do this, like you might have all this stuff in your tank, but if you have a stable tank, then a lot of the stuff won't necessarily.
The craziest thing, because I did one like a year or two ago, and the one super oddball thing, I think he said there's like fire belly toad DNA in my tank. I was like, how the heck did that get in there? I was like, I
Oh,
don't
you have
know.
you have reptiles.
Yeah, but I didn't at that time.
You didn't.
No.
Is that how you decided to get them? Bum bum
Get
bum.
the DNA anyway.
I don't know, but maybe like
Wait,
something from the pet
are you being
store.
serious?
Yeah,
Oh,
for real. I thought that was crazy, but I was like, no, like maybe something from the pet store got in the water, or who
That or
knows?
maybe so like all of our DNA sequences are so freaking similar. So depending on like what chemicals they were using to PCR, it might be possible that um the test just got confused and cut a gene out of place, or that there was some type of morph or something and it identified it as a red belly toad. But who
Oh,
knows?
yeah. One I just found on my email. One surprising finding: there was a small amount of DNA from an amphibian that's sometimes kept as pets, the firebelly toad. I was like, huh, crazy.
That's weird.
Yeah, I thought it was
wow.
very weird. But I do have
For
another
the
test
last
kit. One day I have to do it again just to kind of see
Yeah,
how
you
things change.
do.
It's been on my to-do list for like a while.
for the last 5 minutes, ever since you said Morph Market, I've been browsing Morph Market. This is fascinating, right?
Isn't it?
Oh my gosh.
It is
Devin,
so
don't
cool.
visit it. I think you'll go down a rabbit hole. Like you can actually see what people are selling. The images are so beautiful.
I appreciate good photos.
Um, yeah.
Oh, I already clicked
You
into the dart frog section.
see, I
I wonder if you can send your dirt frog DNA from the Aquabiomics and see what kind you
Be
have.
interesting. I know what kind they are, but it'd be interesting.
this is so this is so interesting.
So if they're doing that, sorry, I'm probably talking really loud into my microphone. But if they're doing that for reptiles, like, and this is what we got into with my club, just don't hawk to it in the test. We
Huh?
won't, Elisa. I thought she was saying don't do it into my mic because I started yelling because I got really excited. But she was saying don't spit into the test tube. Um,
Oh,
so like you know how we were talking about like coral, like if it's really a unicorn bouncer or a golden doodle or whatever,
Hmm.
like I'm surprised we haven't started doing something similar with our coral. I guess the groundwork's already laid for within the reptile community. Like I'm just surprised that we're not uh
Yeah.
yeah. I've given up. I've given up with the. I just buy based on color and what I like. I've given up the whole name thing.
I
I bought
know,
the
but
same
like
thing. I bought the same thing multiple times.
when you get it
Um,
home. But how nice would it be if like we were actually genetic testing the coral and it's like, all right, doesn't matter what light you have it on or what salt you have it in or what
Hmm.
traces you're doing. I know that this is a this. I think it's an interesting concept.
I know people are playing with it, but yeah, it's definitely a lot younger.
yeah, which is fine. Like as long as I know that going in, I am really comfortable. I'm not looking for it to solve like a major issue I'm having. So as long as I know what I'm getting into, I don't mind being trying something on the cutting edge.
Hmm.
But as long as I know exactly what I'm getting into, I'm fine. I'm like, hey, know this. And I think doing it periodically, it's sort of like when you do a Triton test and all of a sudden it's haywire. I don't know if you should do like any ICP test. I don't know if you go crazy because you don't know if you're just off or that was your baseline all along. So yeah, it's just interesting.
But similar thing, like I think you almost need to have one when your tank's doing phenomenal, and if your tank's doing crappy later and you did another one, you're like, okay, what changed in the thing? And is there any like massive swings?
True, true, agreed.
Yep, EIY Kumar. I just woke up from an E nightmare. Saw all my corals bleached. That's like a reef mare. That would be terrifying.
The most common nightmare I have related to my tanks is that I forgot I had one and that it needed to be topped off.
Have you ever been like laying in bed and you're like, did I shut off the RODI? Did I shut off the water and like
No,
jump
I
out of
have
bed?
auto shut off for all of that.
Yeah.
But at one point, yes. I do not
Phil,
like
what do you know
dreaming
about
about
that?
what you know about that. What you
No,
know
Phil,
about
Phil.
that.
No, Phil.
I was singing.
What is Phil know
That was
about
me rapping.
that's what. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I missed. Sorry.
That's a dream tank is fine.
This was a very sciencey podcast. We spoke about science.
Oh, we got into some genetics a little bit, and then I started rapping.
You know what?
And you didn't even catch I was rapping. I'm so good.
It was just that smooth.
Yours is leaking, Elisa? Like your
Wait,
tank
what
is leaking, or you have a nightmare about it leaking?
That's the reef mare.
Okay, that makes me feel better. I was about to be like, not Elisa's tank.
That is the worst
have
thing.
that nightmare all the time, especially when you hear water splashing. I purposely, I don't know, I stupidly do this. Whether it's the overflow, I like to hear the sound of a little bit of water. I think it's soothing. But then I wake up and think something's leaking, which, I'm an idiot. Just, I get up in the morning and it's quiet. I'm like, I have like, there's like a split second where I'm like, oh, there's water everywhere. But no.
That has happened to me before.
Yeah.
But I was camping and I got a notification from my Apex that the saltwater level had been dropping. And it was like a steady drop overnight. So I wasn't even home. But like I pulled it up and it's a steady drop overnight. And you know, my nightmare is seeing Brandi get electrocuted. Everybody's nightmare is going to be me rapping here in a second. And so it was a steady drop. So I knew something was wrong. And I came home and the ATO or something had gotten blocked. And so the water was overflowing and the ATO was just filling it up. And it was a mess. And then a few months later, we had an AC guy here, and like it wasn't as much water as I thought it was going to be. And I was like, "Phew, I got very lucky." An AC guy was here, and he goes, "Do you know that your air vent is full of water?"
Oh, jeez.
I immediately was like, at first I was like, "Huh?" And I was like, "Oh, shh." So we had to get that replaced.
I had a crash once where I don't know what happened. So I, stick the airline outside and I didn't do enough to make sure it couldn't be pinched. So I did something and then my son closed the window and it pinched the line. So the skimmer overflowed. The skimmer was too close to the outside of the tank. So it overflowed. And then I was running calc in my ATO then. So,
Yeah.
remember when I remember once, so embarrassing, I actually spoke to the Carolina reefing community and the topic of that talk was, here's the many ways I crash my tank so you can avoid them.
It was a great talk.
It was 10 ways always crash this tank, so please don't do this. And the big finale was Kalkwasser. And Craig Bingman was like, oh, I'm going to give a talk at MACNA about Kalkwasser and its dangers. Can I use your picture?
But why did he want to use your picture, O?
Because it was a milky white tank with a yellow tank swimming around in it.
He goes, I have never seen someone overdose out to this capacity.
Yeah.
Ever.
Sorry. Yeah.
Poor O.
I know, poor me.
Yeah, that's rough.
Clownfish I'd had for 10 years. 8 or 9 years, something to that effect. The first ever clownfish I've ever bought. So I lost 2 pairs of clownfish that were special. It was the first clownfish I bought with my son. And then if you guys remember, we had a guy, Dave Nanotanks, who used to live here who died. I got his clownfish and I lost those 2 pairs of clownfish in that crash, which was really sad. So
Oh, that is really sad.
I know. I know.
It's no good. One of my buddies, when he was away for my wedding, someone else's tank sitting for him. He sent a photo of his tank. His sump was about 1 mil from the brim of overflowing. He put a big brute canister up for an ATO to like cover it those few weeks while he was gone, but he didn't have a siphon break. So it started and it kept filling until a level. He was literally, I'm gonna say, like 2 millimeters from it overflow. He lucked out huge.
He got so lucky.
He really did. Fish Ventura, thank you for the super chat. Always fun and educational.
It took me a while to learn that lesson. I couldn't figure out why. So I had Advanced Acrylics build me like an ATO container that was like 3 feet high. Yeah. And of course, it took me so long to learn of what a siphon break is. It took me way too long. It took me like a month of, yeah. I sound silly saying, oh, and that didn't even make it to my list of how I crashed my tank. That I forgot about that one until just now. But
you should add it so next time you do the talk.
Number 11.
So, Kalkwasser. Would you use it again?
Oh, I'm using it now.
Okay.
Just not in an ATO. That's and right. A little bit more controlled. Now I'm using a calc stir, and it's pumping water through a calc stir, but I'll never mix it in my ATO container is what I mean. Back then I was mixing it in my ATO and have my ATO pump putting it in. I would never do that again.
Yeah.
I don't remember the last time I filled up my Kalkwasser. It could have been a week ago or it could have been 2 months ago. I should probably look at that after the stream.
Yeah, I go through a lot of it.
How often do you retop it off?
Probably. I mean, I have one of the Avast Marine stirrers, and I put a bunch in it. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's actually good or bad. So I don't need to worry about it that often.
Yeah.
Probably once a month. I probably put like.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
But I just don't remember the last time I've done it.
It's like.
Yeah, I dose a lot of calc, especially in the winter when your heaters are on. The air is dry. You dose a lot more. So I dose probably. I go through 10 gallons of ATO water about every week or a little over a week in the winter, and that's all going through calc. So I dose a ton of calc. In the summer, I have to dial it back a lot, but yeah, it works.
Yeah, no, that's good. Like it loses, like if you're using for pH purposes, I find after like a week to 10 days, it starts to like lose its potency unless you add fresh calc. So if you're using for pH boosting purposes, if not, then it's probably not as big of an issue. But
I don't think my pH ever really drops. It's always around like 8.2.
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah, so I don't know what I'm doing that's making my pH be so good. Probably a combination of all the things, right? Skimmer, the algae scrubber, the Kalkwasser. I don't know.
Everything. Yeah.
So
I'm just doing it all right.
It's happy.
You guys have me looking now, and what's happening now is because I've had the calcium reactor set up on my tank, so I think in the last week I've finally hit that period where the calc alone cannot keep up. Because I've heard because I have a carbon doser, so I've heard the clicking sound come on, and I haven't paid attention. But I think my tank is finally at that point now where the Kalkwasser by itself just doesn't keep up, and the calcium reactor needs to come on. So it's a good thing, right?
Yeah, you know what? I have been on this live stream many times and said that I did not believe trace elements did anything. Blah 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 blah. And I'm very disappointed that I've been doing like the moonshiner stuff for a few weeks, maybe a little over a month now, and the levels that my coral are growing is sickening. Like it makes me so mad because I want to believe that trace elements are just like fake, right? Like it's just really expensive water. And I'm sure there's some that probably aren't that important. Like there's no way all of them are in a biologically reactive form, but there's no real research on it. So it's hard to tell like what's good versus not. Like us knowing that ammonia, like corals like ammonia, a bit more than nitrates.
Okay.
There is some research on that, but I'm excited and disappointed all at the same time. So I wouldn't be surprised if I don't need to start paying a little bit more attention to my alkalinity and pH now that that growth is.
Is
So
it the feeling that you should have known better, but then you're like, I should have known, and then now I know. Now you have evidence to kind of. Is that the feeling you got?
No, it's. I mean, this comes from like my background, right? Like, I worked in a lab while I was working on my PhD with a where we were nature made. I've said this before, but we were a nature made like independent lab facility, and a lot of those vitamins are not biologically available for humans. So, right. So it's like it's set it is what it says it is in the bottle, but your body can't uptake it. Like so it's kind of like you pee it out immediately. So you're making yourself expensive pee. So my mindset is the chances that the trace formats that we're adding to our tank being biologically available to a coral is slim, just like all the vitamins that are available for humans to take. Most of them are not actually usable to us. So I just had this feeling that the same thing would be, and I'm sure there are some that are not doing much for our coral, but obviously there are some that are.
I think they're a bigger chunk of it is if you're deficient in something. Like what
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I think that if you're missing a certain trace element, you could be potentially limiting the growth or stunting it because it's missing some nutrient that it needs. It's hard to say if like, dosing extra or dosing more or like all that stuff makes a big difference, but I think making sure you're not deficient in any is like the bigger chunk.
And like so there's some research on like nitrogen, right? Like because we know that all living things need nitrogen. It's one of the 5 or 6 most abundant elements in life. And when they've like radioactively tagged nitrogen to see if coral take it up across the board, if they only look at it for like 24 to 36 hours, there's not much uptake, if any. But
Mm.
then if they look at it for like over 3 months where they keep putting in radioactively tagged nitrates or nitrogens, um, suddenly it starts to become part of the coral flesh.
Mm.
So it's like what's probably happening is the bacteria is taking it from a less biologically available form for the coral to a more biologically available form for the coral. And then once like that process, like, it's like some lead time that has to happen, just like from ammonia to nitrate, suddenly the corals can use it. So there might be some stuff like that going on.
Okay.
Yep. Sounds legit.
Okay.
Sounds
Devin, are you?
Science.
Yeah, that's the science part, and you guys can tell.
Check.
for
That's
science.
it. Are you still doing? I remember I used to make fun of Dev because whenever he and I would like FaceTime chat, he had like a tray filled with like syringes everywhere, and he would have this big thing. Oh, are you reaching for it with the moonshiner tray?
I can't
He
hear you
had
though.
he had this tray with syringes on top, and it was weird.
I still have it, but I haven't used it in a while because I'm like 6 months overdue for an ICP test or more, so I haven't been dosing it because I have no idea what I so I was dosing it daily. Things were good. Corals looked amazing. It was all good, and then I've been slacking. I haven't done an ICP test in so long, and I started putting the trophic marin, the whatever A and K trace on a doser. And then I added the alpha reef into the mix. I'm like, okay, I'm already dosing a bunch of trace elements. Whether it's enough, I don't know. But I got ICP test this before I start dosing randomly again. And this has been on my to-do list for like 4 months now. So it's been a while. I need to get
Which
my butt back in
ICP
gear.
do you use?
Usually ATI. or fauna are the two I've used.
Oh, Brandy, I have a. Oh, I was talking to my friend Dupree. I think you guys know Dupree.
Oh, I
So he
love
and I.
Dupree.
Oh, he's the one that was just calling me. He just texted me. I said I'm streaming with Brandy and Dev. He said call me when you're done. So we've been talking
He's
about
not going to watch us. Rude.
forget about him, rude. Um, and we were talking about Miracle Mud, and he so I wanted to do, like, tell me if my testing is sound, right? I want to do a thing about Miracle Mud. I'm probably giving it away here, so if anybody copies my idea, by me saying it first, I copyrighted it, so you can't lose it. So there you go. I don't know if that's real, but I wanted to test and see if there's any miracle in Miracle Mud, essentially, right?
Biomass test it.
That's what I was thinking. So I use Triton ICP. Dupree loves ATI, and I thought we could get. I'll use Triton. I'll also get his ATI. I will also use like a third party like Fauna. I think I have enough Fauna ICP tests, just because if Triton shows something and his shows, at least we have a third party. So I would send off, get a baseline water somewhere, send off 2 ICP tests, 1 and a backup for all of them. Soak the Miracle Mud in some seawater for a period of time, maybe of Powerhead circulating over it, and then send that off again with 2, like 1 main, 1 backup. And then if there's any trace elements in it, it should show some difference in trace elements if the Miracle Mud is doing some trace elements. Am I off base with that? I'm not looking for anything like completely like to say this is peer reviewed or anything. I'm just looking for at least a baseline.
Elisa and Smoyer just started using Miracle Mud. I've never used it.
So for what it's worth, not for trace elements, but before I did my Biomass, I within probably like a month prior, I dumped a bag or 2 of Miracle Mud and a bag or 2 of Aquaforest Mud, whatever their version is, into my sump. Life Bio or something like that. But I dumped in a couple bags of each into my Chato area in my sump. And probably a month later, I sent off the Biomass, and I had pretty good diversity. Now, was it related to that? I don't know, but it's hard to know.
I think the live source is different. I think the live source is different stuff than Miracle Mud. I also think the Fiji mud stuff was when Walt Smith used to actually collect the mud from Fiji. Hey, when I used to love refugiums and I had like crazy refugiums, I think using that mud stuff as the substrate for refugiums was like the best refugium I had, because there were pods everywhere. Like there was so much diversity. So in terms of it for a substrate, like a refugium substrate, or maybe if you want to do mangroves or something, I think it's perfect for that. In terms of, the traces stuff, I don't know.
I don't know if this is legit, but the way I used to think of it is like if it has those elements in it and your water was deprived of it, it could pull it out of there. Because RODI, I don't know if this is correct. This is how I used to think of it. But like RODI water is basically deprived of everything. And if it can suck nutrients or like elements out of stuff, it will, like from your container or its surroundings, right? So my thought was always like, okay, if your water's deficient in it and this mud has it,
what is that called? It's not osmosis. It's the opposite of that.
Yeah, I don't know. That was my thought process. Whether or not it's correct, I don't know.
Deosmosis or diffusion.
Diffusion.
Because I think
because that's water moving from a high concentration to a low concentration.
The way it was explained to me is that's why if you have your membrane sitting for a while, that's why you need to throw it, because water naturally. Listen, I get in trouble when I try to explain sciencey stuff when we have Brandi sitting here. But if your RODI has a membrane, and the water will diffuse from the bad side to the deficient side just naturally within
passive transport. That's what that's called.
All right, passive transport. So
I knew there was something. Sorry, it's all in the same umbrella.
It sounds. I feel so smart. Passive transport, but yeah, Dev, that sounds. Again, I'm way outside my comfort zone. This stuff is way over my head, but that sounds plausible to me. That does.
Remember UK Paul? He used to run it in a reactor. I still remember that.
Yeah, Mike Paletta used to do that too.
I
Yeah,
suspect like the thing that they've seen in the peer reviewed journal articles also where there's like this big lag between when you add something versus when the corals actually assimilate it, like could also be just from the bacteria. Like it might not necessarily be that it's getting into the water. It's
Yeah.
probably some passive transport, but that might be passive transport. The bacteria are using it, turning it into whatever form the coral needs,
It feeds
and
the
then the coral being
bacteria,
able
the
to get it.
coral eats the bacteria, which gets some of the goods from it. Like there could be an indirect way from that.
I
Yeah.
think there's also something with the actual mud itself, right? Because we've seen where maybe like when I know when Paul used to pull it in for like the first week or two after, man, that guy had crazy polyp extension. So there might be something where the particles are some particles are letting go, which is the perfect size corals want to capture. We've seen sometimes
Like
when I
it,
like if I see Greg Carroll's Sump has the ability to like turn on some pump and turn some valves, and it like recirculates and basically like self-cleaning. When he turns his return pump on, like that thing is just basically cleaning the sump and recycling. Like it gets crazy polyp extension when he does that. So there's something there with that particulate matter, like they're just feeding on it.
Well, it's
um
probably some bacteria down there in that particulate matter also that gets up into where the coral can get.
yeah.
isn't that kind of with like the Aquaforest life bio, like the mud. Like some people just dose it to their tank to kind of use that particulates for the corals in theory. So it sounds like a similar dealio.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm so excited for that the like coral research is starting to look at this kind of stuff. Like it's so fascinating to me how we've been theorizing this stuff
Hmm.
and the scientists are just now getting to it. Um
Putting our theories to the test.
but it's yeah, but
Yeah.
it's so slow. It's so slow. Me
I
and
wouldn't
Fan want to
even.
do a reef receipts on it, which is why I know like the nitrogen thing, and I've been
Oh,
waiting to find something where like they're looking and like tagging different elements and seeing like what the corals do with it, but there's just so little research on it.
I wish more companies would do more stuff with their products. I understand that it's coming from the company, so there's some bias to it,
Like
and
what
I'm
kind of
okay.
stuff?
Like if you have coral food, do some testing with your coral food. Like
Like what kind of testing? Like testing
uh,
what's in it or testing how the corals use
testing
it
what's
or
in it, how the corals use it, something.
all the
Even if
things.
it,
All the
even if
tests,
it,
Brandy, all the tests.
even if it comes from the company, like my brain, I think I trust myself enough to temper it to say, okay, the data is coming from there. They're citing specific things, and I can do I can look up additional things if I need to. But I think it at least gives, like, if a company says we see from when we did our lab test, we see 50. I think it starts a discourse. I think it causes curious people to go look, right, and then I think it brings something to the forefront. So I'm okay, man, with the companies like testing, and the onus should be on them to test some of the stuff they're selling us. But kudos to any company. Again, it doesn't matter if it comes out and I look at it squinty and say, all right, man, I see what you're saying, I see you, but I'm a squint at those numbers. I'm okay with that. But at least it starts a discourse, right? Rather than we have some arbitrary number that, you know, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
I think
Everyone likes more testing though, right? And more data. Like in a way, it's marketing for them if they're doing cool tests with their products. But
but it's also, you know what Greg always says, uh, these
What?
companies have one foot in the garage, hoping to
Uh,
get that other foot in the garage. So I'm trying to find like, not to tell them I used this quote. Um,
yeah,
some of
that's
these
true.
companies, like the funds to do the test, just aren't there.
Yeah, yeah, that is true. That is absolutely true. Listen, I am okay with anec a lot of listen, when I hit you up, Dev, and I'm asking you about equipment or whatever you're using, right? A lot of what we take is anecdotes from people we trust, right? Like I'll ask somebody something, like Brandy's like, I use it and I love it. Like, look at all the anecdotes we spoke about the salt today. Like, I'm okay with anecdotes. I trust myself enough to squint at it and say, I don't trust that. I don't want to do that. that guy is doing something, and I think I'll try it for something incremental, because I don't think there's any. I was just having this crazy thing with Dupree last night where he's like, I love my ESV, and then I love my KH Guardian, and I'm like, I think your success is you, like whatever collective you have, like your recipe. Because if I all of a sudden take ESV and start using it, that doesn't make me successful. Or if I take my out tester off and put the one you're using, that by itself doesn't make me successful. It's whatever secret sauce you have collectively. And I'm okay with somebody giving me anecdotal evidence. One, don't present anecdotal evidence as some scientific thing. That's just wrong. Um,
Well,
but
a lot
yeah,
of science starts, all science starts from anecdotes. So I actually hate when people like try to minimize anecdotal evidence, because if there wasn't a pattern that was being seen, someone shouldn't have tested it to begin with.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with it. I'll judge the reefer. I'll judge the reefer or the reefer's methods by myself, but I'm okay with anecdotes. Like, I don't think we should ever, like,
It's reefer
you know,
level science when you're
yeah,
not a
I like
scientist.
the way you reef dev. Like, there's specific people I ask about equipment, right? Reef keeper, you. I like Greg. I like specific people. Dupree, Acro. Like, there's a people in my Rolodex. Oh God, I just aged myself. That I ask about.
What's a
Yeah,
Rolodex?
Those
that I
contact list.
ask about equipment, right? I'll ask specific people about equipment, and that's fine. Like, I might not take your advice, Dev. Like, when you say I'll do this, I'll be like, all right, that's not for me, but I'm okay with anecdotes, is what I'm trying to say. I'm
It's a
okay.
good way to learn.
Yeah.
And you can get data too, especially if you collect 5 people you trust, and what works for them. And and 3 out of 5 line up, you're like, okay, maybe there's some good here to dig into, right?
You know what? If I have, of all the people who I look at and I see are successful, one thing they have in common:
What?
stable tanks.
That does help.
Stable tanks. If you ask the people who I know who are successful, SPS keepers, because that's what I'm trying to emulate and I'm failing miserably at. You know what they have? Stable tanks. At the end of the day, they have stable tanks. They don't mess with it too much. They have like it's not a don't care attitude, but it's a really tempered attitude towards like making crazy changes to the tank. That's what they had. Um,
So, speaking of that, interesting side thing. Earlier you mentioned that like Bullock's method, whatever it's called, but it's essentially dosing all of your elk at once or all your calcium at once, right? So
What is it called?
I think Bullock's method or
the
something.
yes, I mean bolus method. Sorry, the bolus
Okay,
method. Sorry, my
the
bad.
one.
Bolus. Oh, like that's what the word bolus means.
Sorry, yeah. So the one interesting thing with that is years ago I did a video on Wincy, and that's what she did. And I always thought it was crazy that she just dumped in like 60 mils of elk. Be like, bloop, here's my dose for the day. And then I always thought it was crazy. But then I heard this is like a method now. I was like, I thought that was like you don't have a doser method, but but no, but we're talking about like stability in a tank, right? Also, you're like, boom, elk spike, boom, pH spike, bolus. Thank you.
Again, I
So
suspect like the pathways, the biological pathways that's going on. It might not be that the coral is pulling the magnesium immediately. It might be that whatever form the magnesium is not just exactly right for the coral to take up, but a bacteria is able to take it in, and its excretion is essentially the product that the coral needs.
so bolus method. So after I watched, bolus is something medical. It's a medical term,
Yeah,
bolus by itself, where you deliver one dose instead of you deliver the dosage all at once versus over time. I don't know if it's better.
that's
Again,
what
I
the
think
word bolus means.
And people say
I
reviews
said
are
that earlier.
expensive. If you want to save money, you don't need a doser. You just go bloop. There you go for the day.
yeah. Hey, but back in the day, isn't that what people did? Well, when I started reefing with two-part, people
Yeah.
would get up in the morning and like, psh, psh, that's the consumption for the day, and they would pour it in. The alkalinity would get poured in the tank, and the calcium would get poured down the overflow, right? Two different areas. They would mix before they come back. I'm cool with people doing the bolus method. I think my only thing with that particular stream was I think it sort of downplayed everything else that came before it. Basically saying you've been doing it wrong the entire time, which kind of made me squint. I usually squint, but I squinted a little harder. But I'm sure from talking to other people and reading the thing on Reef, seems like it works for some people, or it's working and people are excited to try it. I know Acro Killer sent me some reading on it. Again, my only thing is that you've come in with something new, something relatively new, and you're like,
Technically,
calcium reactors are bad because of this, or dosing two-part is bad because of this.
So,
do y'all hear that? We're someone's favorite YouTubers. We're YouTubers. We know Dev is, but we're YouTubers.
Yeah, you are.
Dedicated reefer.
Thank you, dedicated reefer.
That
Thank you
was
for $5 super
sweet.
chat.
Wait, who is he listening to? Is he talking about us?
Yeah, package deal.
Oh wow.
3 favorites.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Is that
your
Dev?
baby.
Yep.
Sorry, I got totally distracted by that. I'm like, oh, my heart is so full. What were y'all talking about?
Bolus method, but yeah, okay. It's good to know now that bolus is a medical
real
term.
word.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of times, like before you start a steroid dose or something, the doctor will be like, take the bolus, which is all of them the first day, and then it's like a slow decline after that.
Okay.
So
Keepers, I like.
now everything is like, you're like, oh, calcium reactors are bad, or it's like they're bad for pH. Sure. Dosing's bad. You're like, well, is it bad to do one massive dose versus lots of little doses? Like, you could say like everything has its pros and cons, right? Like anything.
Yeah, I shouldn't have gotten so irked the way I did.
When someone ever makes an argument, whether it's in reefing or anything, where it's always or never, it tends to bother me too.
Yeah.
Like that's one thing I used to say when I was teaching science is like, if you don't know the exceptions to the rule, you haven't figured out the rule yet. And so if you're saying always and never, like any extreme like that, it's like, okay, we don't actually understand all the parts. Oh, he's so cute.
Yeah, he just woke
So
up.
tired.
Woke up from his nap.
Especially in reefing, there is no extreme. Like you can see people do some crazy things and be successful at it and let you say, what are you, like the people who haven't done water changes for 10 years, like that's madness. And they're still successful by doing whatever they're doing. Right. So
Yeah.
We've seen successes at
Every extreme.
In reefing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always exceptions, right? Like,
Yep.
like that's the thing. Like,
But you haven't done a water change in 10 years. That means, you lucked out. There's no nasty contaminants building up, or you're dealing with them via other export. So I don't know. There's all these little depending things.
I made that up. I actually don't know anybody who hasn't done a water change in 10 years. Just saying. I need to just preface that by saying I made that up. So please, I don't have any examples to provide.
I mean, that's one thing. Like even like Elisa, right? Like she uses the moonshine method. I think we get stuck on this idea of never water changing, but she definitely does water changes at times. Like I think that there's times when things are appropriate, even though like our typical way of dealing with our reef tank might not be water changes, or it might not be X, Y, or Z. That doesn't mean there's not an appropriate time to put it in action.
Yep. Reefkeeper has a comment, and I forgot. He said every method has success and many failures, good and bad tanks with all methods. I think in that stream he had a comment where he said plenty, like he was saying plenty of good tanks on bolus, plenty of terrible tanks on bolus too. Like there's plenty of good tanks on everything. There's 100%. A lot of terrible tanks on every method. There's plenty of good tanks with Red Sea skimmers. There's also plenty of bad tanks with Red Sea. There's plenty of, just he's absolutely right. And I love that comment when he said that.
100%.
Yeah. So I think Devin and I might start the tank the same time with the same equipment. And I don't know, maybe the air in Canada is cleaner and some of the bacteria from the ocean blew in your tank better.
You're closer to the
Um,
ocean.
Not
than
that it's
me.
cleaner, it's that New York is dirtier.
You know what? That's it. Again, when I was talking to Dupree yesterday,
I
Dupree was
love you.
telling me Dupree was telling me it's the ESV and this with his tank. I was like, no, dude. It's because when you started up your tank and you went to California, you got biomedia from West Coast Reefer,
Yep.
biomedia from Reef Keeper, biomedia from Greg Carroll, biomedia from like all the friends in California that had great tanks. He went and got like their Zeovit media. So
That's the
dude,
magic.
you basically took yeah, that's what I was saying. So I basically like you took everyone on the West Coast who had like a nice tank and basically like ported a lot of that to yours. And then he was saying, yeah, but when I started up a new tank, I was like, yeah, but then you took corals from that tank and put it in the other tank. So you got some of that. So
Transporting
That's
the
why,
goodness.
like, it always kills me when people are like, nothing changed. And I'm like, nothing
Everything
changed. Exactly. And like people don't take into account all these other things that have happened. And also just because you didn't change anything doesn't mean that the company didn't change something in some capacity. Like you don't always know what's changing.
You don't. And, if, you don't do water changes, whatever you're dosing could have some excess byproducts that's slowly building up to some critical mass, right?
Or your cleaning supplies, right? Like there could be a chemical change in your cleaning supplies that wasn't a problem and suddenly it's a problem.
Air fresheners in the house spraying in your tank. Like, you never know.
Mhm. Kids doing weird stuff like dropping metal pins in a tank.
Oh, yeah. Always trying to mess
Mine
with the
did
sump.
that.
I'm pretty
In
sure I've
everyone's
lost a few
defense-
things in the sump.
in everyone's defense, sometimes we do things that are routine to us that you might not
We
realize. So
become
when you're
blind to it.
so when you're explaining it, because for instance, I don't not that Dupree forgot, but I don't think he realized. And then he said, "Hey, I started up a new tank and I didn't go through it." And I had to tell him, "Yeah, man, but you were traveling. You started a new tank. You were traveling, so you were patient with it, right? So it went through its cycle, like
You
you were
couldn't mess
between."
with it.
So by the time he came back, it had a ton of algae. But as soon as he pulled that algae out, like it was ready for prime time because it went through its ugly phase without him needing to be in front of the tank to see the ugly phase, right? So he didn't get frustrated by that ugly phase. So when he came home, did a water change, pulled out the algae, the tank was ready for life, right? It never came back. So I think there's things we do that we just
Jeff, do you
don't
need to be
realize.
done for tonight?
No, I'm still
Does
good
he
for a
need
few.
you?
It's just like daddy or bus moments.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I understand that. He's so
my
cute.
kids went to bed.
They don't need you anymore. Oh,
Nah, they're not. They're like, yeah.
that's why I needed to have another one because my oldest didn't need me anymore, and the youngest doesn't want me. So,
Tell me about it.
dang kids,
Hey, I try to convince.
they're
I think
silly dogs
They're gonna.
too.
They're gonna come to Reefapalooza Orlando with me next year. I told them like the hotel's
Ooh.
cool. I told them there's a pool.
It is cool.
Um,
How
yeah,
old are they now?
16 and 11.
Oh my goodness. Ooh, I
know,
bet
right?
you my oldest would love playing with your youngest.
My kids are giants. So just
Never.
FYI.
Mine is not. Mine's 10 though.
Yeah, they would.
He's almost 11. In 2 months.
Yeah, they love play. Like anyone who has energy that can keep up with. Like I feel like they tire each other out, and that's great for us because then they go to sleep.
Strategy.
Perfect.
Yep.
Let's do it. It's a plan.
Yep.
Excuses for reefer meetups. I like it.
No.
When are you coming to a show, Dev?
Next year I'll start again.
Oh my gosh, he said
He
that
always
last
says
year.
that.
Yeah, but do you know what changed? I actually
What?
finally got into a daycare, which took like 2 years, which
Oh
was
my
ridiculous.
god. Daycare? Like the wait list for daycares? I was on like since I was pregnant and he got on in August and he's almost 2.
No, but now it'll be easier to get away, right? When
Yeah.
it was,
Yeah, it is.
if I'm like the main person, I don't know, it'll make life easier. So there's
It
hope
will.
again. And now that like
Now
my
that I have a
kiddo's older,
dog-
I can bribe grandparents and stuff. Like
Yeah.
there's actually like the hope is coming back of going to more shows and stuff.
Now that I have a dog, I
looking
got to
forward
figure
to
out
it.
what to do with a dog when I'm
I
traveling.
want a dog so bad.
So-
I know.
So speaking of, do you guys have any other
Don't get a
pets
dog.
aside
Don't get a
from the
dog.
fishies?
I have 2 cats,
Hmm.
and I really want another dog.
Yeah.
Another dog? I thought you said you had no dogs.
Well, because mine passed away, so I still feel like it's my dog.
Dupree breeds Frenchies, so this is actually
I want a
Dupree.
big dog. I want a big dog.
Oh yeah, Dupree
No.
breeds Frenchies, so this is actually from.
Aw.
Yeah, I bought him a
That's
little
cute.
sweater. That's his sweater. Yeah.
Cute.
Do you have other pets other than your froggies?
I have a dog.
Do you? Oh yeah, I've seen
Yeah.
your dog before.
Yeah. Pooch and froggies. And many fish.
My office tank, again, not shilling for Petco, but Petco sells salt water. So my office tank, which is not doing so well, I just end up getting Petco to deliver salt water, and then I do water changes right there in the office.
Nice.
That's wise
Boom.
actually to get it delivered to work. You don't have to carry it
I
up.
know. Yeah.
Speaking of some shows, I was just at Aquashella Daytona this past weekend.
Okay. How was it?
It was crazy busy. Like our booth, I kept thinking I was going to get a chance to look around. I never even got to go to the coral side because we were so incredibly slammed.
Yeah. Crazy.
Daytona. I was looking.
I don't think they're going to do it again in Daytona though. I think
Why
it's going to
not?
be in Orlando.
It's so cheap.
It's a
flying to
sketchy
Daytona.
area,
Real.
and the there's not really a lot of nice restaurants and stuff. So the Polo Reef crowd was there, and they ate at the hotel every single night, and I think over half of them got sick, and some of them even had to go to the ER, and they think it was because of the hotel food.
Oh, jeez.
None of the rest of us
who got
ate at the
sick?
hotel. We went other places.
Who got sick?
Like half of them. I think JC got sick.
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
Just was what?
No, because I know Tussie, so I was gonna hit him up.
Oh no, he wasn't there. He wasn't there.
Okay.
But it was
JC.
like, yeah, it's a beautiful hotel, and it's like I was able to sleep with my windows open, so I woke up every morning to the sunrise over the ocean, and it was just absolutely gorgeous. But
It was?
the food is a nightmare. Yeah.
Ah. So you think it's gonna be? Oh, someone said Daytona. Ooh.
I never
So-
went down to the beach, to be fair. I was too busy, but I was able to wake up looking at it with the sunrise coming over the ocean, which was just
Sounds pretty.
If Aquashella was local, I'd go. I will probably only travel to a reef show because I want the entire show to be relevant to me.
You know, I have learned so much by doing some of the freshwater stuff. Like, so for reef stock, what was the most recent reef stock that's in Tennessee?
Wait, quick question. Did you go to
Yeah.
Aquashella recently?
Me?
Yeah, last weekend.
I
she was
thought, I
there.
thought so. So
Yeah.
I have not been to one yet. So how do you like it compared to the reef shows?
So I'm getting into the freshwater stuff also.
Hmm.
and that reef stock Chattanooga. So what I was going to say,
They
and
just
I'll
said
come
it, so you
Yeah.
cheated.
They did. Oh, I didn't see it. I wasn't looking. I did the aquascaping competition, and all
Nice.
I did was copy like one of the most basic principles of aquascaping in freshwater, and I won. And the people I was aquascape like by a lot. Everybody picked my tank, and some of
Nice.
the people I was aquascaping against, like their job is building aquascapes, right?
High five.
And one of them, I'm like, what? I was prepared to lose. Like, I'm like, y'all are just putting me in here because y'all need an extra body. Me and Than were actually on a team, and Than just drank beer the whole time. And said mean comments to me, even though I was his teammate. I'm like, you don't understand this.
Strays
So he didn't even earn the win.
Watch the video. He said lots of mean things. It was very funny.
Dan
Um,
didn't deserve to win,
And
buddy.
so he, so one of the people that was competing against us was calling everybody he knew and was like, which one was the best? And everybody was like, that one, which was mine. So yeah, like the principles for like I'm learning some stuff by doing this freshwater stuff, like at Aquashella and AGA and some of these other freshwater things that I'm applying to the saltwater, and it's really, really interesting.
Okay.
Some of the things that they didn't know, like, you know how if we fill our houses with a bunch of people, what happens to pH?
They didn't know that.
No. And they were like, and so some of them have like things on their systems, and they started going back through their data, and they're like, oh my God, when we get home, the pH goes down.
Yeah.
And they want their pH to be lower, but like and some of them were looking at like the averages when their kids were home for the summer versus now that they're in school, and they were shocked, and they thought I was just some crazy girl, and then they're like, huh. So yeah, there's definitely some stuff to be learned between the two groups.
When I was in freshwater, I used to inject CO2 into the tank to lower it for all the plants so they grow faster.
Right. Like, and some of the like red plants and stuff won't grow well at all if you're not adding CO2 to the tank. But like they were talking about stuff, and I was basically telling them to do the opposite of what we do for our reef tanks. And they're like, why would I do that? I'm like, because that's going to cause you to have like close your windows, you know? And they're like, well, I always have my windows open. I'm like, try closing them.
Oh.
So it's interesting.
Yeah. The nice thing is you can use equipment both ways. Power heads work on both. Lights, depending on the spectrum. CO2 tanks can be used for calcium reactors or plants, you know. A lot of the equipment is kind of universal on either side, which is kind of cool for those that dabble.
But yeah, I enjoy Aquashella, but I like I said, I didn't even make it to the saltwater side this time, but there was a lot of saltwater people there. Like Rocky Coralito was there.
Oh, Coralito was
there. Yeah. And of course, I never made it over there, so I think that there were some other people that I never saw. But I think as far as my friend groups are concerned, like I have more of you guys.
Wait, huh? What did I do?
You're in my friend group. I have more friends that are at Reefapalooza versus Aquashella. But I'm starting to make those friends with the freshwater people, right? But there's definitely friends that only see it one versus the other.
Yeah, Reefapalooza is my jam because it's all saltwater equipment. Everything in the show is relevant to me, and that's why I say that's the only one I'll travel to, because I know every potential vendor or equipment manufacturer at the show is relevant to me. Yeah, that's kind of how I see it. But if the other ones were local, like I'd happily check them out. When the aquatic experience was local, I check that out every year. Everything that's local within, the Connecticut show 1 year. Now I get a ride. Thank God. Thank you, Mike. Love you for that. But when the show was in Connecticut, I took a bus for like 5 hours to go to, get up to Storrs, Connecticut for the show. So anything in the Northeast, I'll attend. It's just flying across country. Not something it's hard to convince me of that.
All right. Back to roofing question. Right. Hydros or Apex in the chat?
I am Hydros #1 right now, but I use both. Hey,
I have not used either in so long. Well, I've never used Hydros. I need to get one so I can talk educatedly about it. And it's been so long since I've used the Apex. I don't know. I have GHL currently.
That's a weird dichotomy, right? Have the Apex, but then the Hydro sign in front of it. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I could open up the bottom of these cabinets, and it's an entire Apex system.
Yeah, I like the Hydros is #1 on my reef, but for first of all, the NP, I absolutely love that thing. Again, my only thing, and I think it's easily fixable, and it's just that it costs $30 a month to run. That's the only thing that I'm not liking. And when the Trident first came out, it was expensive, and over time the price came down. But the Trident NP, I'm liking it. I know the Hydros version of it got delayed, which, you know, fine.
Did you
I'd
get
rather
the
them
new
get it right.
dosers?
For which company?
Apex.
I
The Dose
didn't
2.
because I have 2 dose. I
do.
think it's only quieter. If
Do you
I was
like
gonna
the
do,
Dose 2s, Dev?
Oh, way better than the original.
how is
So
it
that's
different?
why I stopped using my Apex, because they only worked when I spanked them regularly.
So you need the new ones. Um, knock some
I
sense
was
into
dead.
it. If you're only using it for like dosing throughout the day, so it's like doesn't really make a difference. Like, yes, it's better, but I wouldn't buy one just for that. But if you're using it for like calc or a calcium reactor or a water change, they're so much quieter.
Okay.
So
Yeah, they make me want to get my Apex back running.
yeah.
I have like 5 GHL dosers though, so
Oh. I'm gonna zip my lips because I keep getting messages from people whenever GHL gets brought up. So I am not.
GHL has fantastic hardware. It is built extremely well, but their software is not as friendly. That's the best
it's
way I can
not
sum it.
friendly at all. And
Like, you
to
could
the
set it
point-
up and like die and your kids inherit it. It'll probably still be working. They won't be able to program
and it's
it, but it
still
will be
going to be
working.
like right on the money, right? Like
Yeah.
anytime I go to calibrate it, it's like, why did I just calibrate it? It's perfect.
Yeah, their hardware is fantastic, but their software is not intuitive. I really like Apex's interface and software the best because I've used it the longest. I've had it for like 10 years, right? So I find it really easy to.
Do you have Hydro stuff?
I'm not using it, but I had one. I kind of quit using it. It was flaky on my Wi-Fi, so
He was using those power bars.
they tainted me.
Canada.
Yeah. Yeah, your Canadian Wi-Fi over there. I think the cold air affects Wi-Fi. Doesn't transmit as far, which is fair, Dev. Which is absolutely fair. Like right now, I use one power bar, but I plug my power heads in it, so if it stays on.
I had a big conversation with like a buddy that's like basically an engineer about this, and he had super flakiness with his hydros and he runs it, and he bought a separate older router and he says, oh, it works good now. So his theory was that it has issues with like Wi-Fi 6 and newer Wi-Fi, where the older Wi-Fi seemed to play nicer with it. That was his
I think
theory.
I told you I when I used my extender, the Google extender, it was terrible. So I had to disconnect the extender. I ended up getting a different microwave because what happens when I use the microwave, anything on a side of the apartment would get obliterated.
That's not good.
Definitely not good. So I got a different microwave, but yes. Listen, I think all these controllers do.
Oh, you
the same
say
thing.
stuff all the time that I'm like, that's
Wait,
not what I
no,
thought you were going to say.
Hey,
That
when you use
wasn't
the
on my
microwave,
bingo card.
when you use the microwave, like the Apex signal, the Wi-Fi would drop.
That sucks. That's not
That's
good.
why I got rid of
Okay.
the microwave.
Good.
Okay, good. I'm gonna say if it's killing your Wi-Fi, that is leaking some radiation. Like you
Yes,
need to
that's what I was
replace
thinking.
that
Like,
seal or just buy a
Wait.
new one.
The
For
thing is,
many
it's killing
reasons.
more than your Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
right?
probably.
That's-
I'm surprised you
I
got 3
got
kids
rid
out
of
of the deal.
maybe that's why there's only 3.
You know, hey,
Sorry.
no, it's all right. Maybe it gave me a natural.
Maybe.
I didn't need to do a.
Yeah.
Just saying, maybe I didn't.
But in fairness to Hydros, I don't have a normal Wi-Fi setup, which might be related. I have like not mesh, like a wired backbone mesh. So I have like 4 access points that I run at lower power. So everyone just connects to whatever's closest, and you get like stellar speeds through wherever you go. So
Dev,
yes.
sorry, you finished. I thought you were finished.
Oh no, so like any device normally can just like seamlessly roam around, and it's nice, and it works well. But it's like business-ish, like Unify, Ubiquity stuff. Like it works phenomenal, but I just think it doesn't play nice with Hydros.
So I will say that you only had that problem when you were using the Wi-Fi bar. If you take the Wi-Fi bar out of the equation,
What am I going to use the
Hydros
controller
works fine.
for then? If I can't control outlets.
No. They sell a outlet. They sell the outlet that's connected to it.
Okay. So
But
yes,
Dev doesn't want that. He wants it to be wireless. Oh,
You know what?
but so after like after a while I'm like, okay, let's give it the second chance, and then I use the single plug only, like not the 4-pack, like just the single like better plug, and then it worked for a while, and then it quit working. I was using it for like Bavaria Mister timing and stuff. So Alyssa,
Yeah.
thank you for the super chat.
I don't use that. I don't use the Wi-Fi. Again, I only use them for, let's say, like my MP40s, which if it's a device that stays on, which it hasn't in 2 years since I stopped the mesh, I don't think you'll ever get it to work on mesh, Deb. So please, I'm not even going to try to convince you. If you have a mesh thing at home, then those Wi-Fi bars are probably not for you.
But it's not
Like,
wireless mesh. They're all wired. They're just multiple
no, no, no.
APs that you can.
I don't think it's gonna. I've never gotten it to work. I've tried it multiple places, in the office, home, anything with a mesh where it's going over multiple. And I know, like,
But
the
it's
Hydros folks, it just never got it to work.
it's not wireless mesh. It just means there's multiple options to connect to. Like they're all wired.
I'm confident that if anybody could get it to work, you would have Dev.
Yeah, I can lock. I can lock a device to an AP. Like I can get around that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, like this.
Like you.
I
know
don't
how
think
to
the
do
Wi-Fi
the-
bar you could. The way the
Is it-
Wi-Fi bar is synced, though, I don't think you can lock it to. I don't know, Dev. If again,
I don't know.
I'm going to agree with Brandi that
Yeah.
if you couldn't get it to work, then
I work in IT, manage many networks, and I have
Yeah.
a lot of smart devices on my
You're
network.
kind of an
And
expert at this.
no, but like I have a lot of smart devices, and nothing else has an issue. So I'm like,
Yeah.
it's either the stupid Wi-Fi chip they're using in this cheap power bar, or there's something else. But it just didn't like my network. So
whatever you're using to talk wirelessly, I agree with you. I totally agree with you. I agree with you. So I'm not even going to try to convince you otherwise. I totally agree with you. I just don't use those Wi-Fi bars for anything serious. I just use the XP8 seamlessly. Works seamlessly for me.
that's what I would do if I was to try it again, for sure.
Yeah. At work, the office tank I just showed you at Petco, like, because it's a corporate Wi-Fi and there's like, I get kicked off all the time. I actually use an Apex at work because there's a hard connection. And I didn't want to mess around with it. I know I could have brought in my own Wi-Fi thing and made my own little mini Wi-Fi. I just didn't want to do that. So in that instance where it was just easier to go with an Ethernet, I just did it.
Whoa, question. You mentioned it, and you mentioned it again, and then you mentioned it again, but it just processed. When
What?
did you start up a tank at work?
Buffer.
Oh, it's
How long
been
has
there
it
for like since February.
That's cool.
It's in a WeWork, and it's really there, but it's in a WeWork. People walk by it all the time, and it looks
What's WeWork?
cool. With, like, you know, like those office spaces where you rent like an office space.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's like a
You can
co-working
set up an
space.
aquarium in one of those?
The way they told us is it's your space. You do whatever you want. So my company got it. It was my tank, my equipment, but the company, like, I expense all the expenses, like water, food, I expense it. Company pays for it. I think it's cool, and everyone thinks it's cool. And my company colors are purple and pink, and a lot of the things related to it are, you know, I make it. You know, there's like a. Well, I had a.
I would like to see a picture of this ASAP.
It's not in the best condition.
Well, then
But-
clean it up and text me a picture.
Stuff is growing. It's nice. It's nice.
That's
I think I
awesome.
like it. Yeah. Has an Apex and
Dedicated
auto
reaver?
feeder that feeds in the
Dedicated-
morning
Oh,
before everyone comes in. So it makes all that noise before people come into the office. But it's cool. People like it.
Nice.
Dedicated Reefer was asking if we run a UV or not. I do. I have not looked at that thing in ages. There might not be UVing much anymore. Do you keep one?
I don't run it anymore. It's permanently plumbed into the system.
Mm-hmm.
My second return, like when I was showing you the the weird plumbing that I did with my overflow box, like the second thing goes through it, but I haven't turned it on in a while, so it's just there.
Makes sense.
I don't know what the wattages are. I always have to look them up, so I can't help you with that.
I have a 57
Wattages
watt
for?
that I'm not using currently on my water box. But when I do use it, it's 57 watt. There's like a little 10-watt bulb on the one beside me that I did for fun a while back to deal some dinos.
I have the 4-foot Aqua UV one that's long, and I like it because it's a 40-watt classic.
I think I have a
It's
40-watt Pentair. Is that a thing?
Yeah, it's a big, thick, beefy one. I like it, but it's big, thick, and expensive.
But I think it's slightly undersized for my tank, if I remember correctly.
40-watt is way oversized for my tank for what they recommend.
Well, mine's almost 170 gallons. Yours is what,
Yeah.
120?
120, 150. This says up to 325, so it's overkill.
The 40-watt? Maybe I have lower than that. Though whatever mine
Yeah.
is, it's slightly underrated.
The Aqua UV one, classic, the like 40 and the 57-watt were like the same physical size, which was relatively small. That's kind of why I went for it. It was just like, it was the best like bang for your buck for the space.
Your 40-watt is small. I have the 40-watt, but it's 4 foot, dude.
No, this is why I specifically picked this one. Well, let me find it.
Okay.
Ooh, maybe mine's a 25-watt. Let me look up what options there are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I when I was setting up the tank, it came in handy, I think. But after the stuff, this is where after
I have a
Salem, like
25-watt.
after Salem said like Ozone and some of the, I was already thinking of turning it off because I just had too much stuff on the system. But after
What did
I
he say
heard
about Ozone?
he said Ozone. I don't think Salem, but I forget his name, but I think the owner or the guy, like he showed some evidence that ozone and UV like affects the biome of a tank. Like he showed some before and after tests, and I sort of believe that. I
That's
wasn't
why
really
we
using.
put them on, though,
That-
isn't
yeah.
it? Like,
Ozone
but
oxidizes.
but I do not. I don't have the issue. I'm not adding any fish. I'm not changing my fish population, so I didn't really need it anymore. So by the way, it's still plumbed in. So if I need to turn it on, I can. But the ozone, I wasn't running ozone anymore, so I took the ozone off. With all my water going through a filter roller, I feel like I'm still getting the water clarity that I needed, and I took
They do different things though. Like the filter roller will remove particulates from the water, but it won't remove the yellowing, right? Like if you run carbon, that does it. But if you don't do carbon, ozone breaks it down.
the only thing that finally knocked out my cyano was the ozone.
Really?
And if I turn it off, like within 3 weeks, I've got that nasty, and it's a bad cyano. Like
No cyano
anybody
stuff.
who gets the same kind I have, they're like, this is impossible to get rid of.
Hmm.
The only thing that seems to like help at all is the ozone.
Yeah, I took it off. I've seen no effects. I run carbon when I need to dev, so I don't have a problem with it. So I
Okay.
put carbon in there. I have like a 2 little fishies reactor that I'll stuff
The really
filled with
cute
carbon.
one.
Yeah, I wish I had.
I love Julian.
I had version 1 of the the Nios, and I wish I had like a V2. But the 2 little fishies one works great. I think it's a classic. I just stuff it, put it in the sink, let it run out the whatever it's running out, then put it back in the tank, and it works. I like it.
Elisa said that Salem said ozone is better for bad bacteria.
Yeah, but
It's going to be whatever prolific bacteria is mainly in your water column, right? Because at least most people use a skimmer. So whatever water's flowing through your skimmer is what it's going to affect.
I didn't need it. I was looking to simplify my reef. I had too much stuff on my tank. So that's one of the reasons I decided to and I have to say,
need it, don't use it. I need it.
I have to say, I had a refugium. I had all these things going on, and
Do you not have a refugium anymore?
one day, in a fit of rage,
We haven't talked in so long. I had no idea you had changed so tremendously.
one day in a fit of rage, I don't know why, but I decided I'm cutting out. So right now, my sump is big. My tank is 4 foot by 30. My sump is 3.5 feet by 30. It takes up the entire length of the under the stand. And one day I'm like, man, I'm tired of this. So and it's glass. So I cut out all the baffles. So my sump is just one big open chamber, no baffles, no anything. And I have to say, Brandi, like my nutrients, now I have to dose phosphate again. I'm not doing anything. All I have is a skimmer and a filter roller. And I have a pump like circulating in the sumps. And I gotta say, the tank is doing better for it. Like it's not
Why?
complicated. I
Who
don't know.
decided actually to put baffles in sumps in the first place? Like what
I think it was for bubbles, if I'm being for trap bubbles.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
So,
like when people are like, oh, this has to go in front of this, or this has to go in front of that. Like I've never understood those arguments. I'm
Vertex with a chamber for everything in their original fancy acrylic sump. That's my guess. Maybe.
Then everybody wanted to match. Now I do have a Homali sump sitting in the room over there that y'all can't see. It's been sitting there for a year because I'm slow to do any of my projects. It's so pretty.
Yeah,
those things are nice, right? Oh,
yeah, it's got like the
gosh.
lights built in, and it looks so good. But
Yeah.
fancy.
yeah, but it's just sitting in the other room, not being used. So I feel real dumb for buying it.
Just a quick time check because we're going way longer than normal since you guys are on the
I'm
other
okay
half
for
of the
now.
country. You guys okay
I'm
for a
okay
few?
for now. My kids
Both
are
of my
sleeping.
kids are
wife
asleep.
went out.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Just checking. Just making sure.
It was just so Brandi, I don't think, since you never got the story, I think Dev got the story. So in the past, I have a bean animal overflow. So I had the secondary I had the first one with a full siphon. The second one was going a little bit. My sump was initially split in two. The back chamber was a refugium and some unfiltered.
Was this where you
water.
like cracked it, or was that your tank?
No, that wasn't when I cracked it. This was my tank. This was a sump. No.
I'm
Let's
just
stop
trying to remember. I'm trying to remember.
Stop
if I knew
mixing
about
up the
this.
tragedies. Stop mixing up the tragedies.
There's so many.
So in any case, when I decided to cut the baffle out, I borrowed like a shop vac from someone.
Mhm.
And I think the first clue should have been the shop vac couldn't get the mud out. It kept being stuck. Brandi, when I cut the baffle out and all the
You did
mud.
tell me about this.
Oh, I did. Man, it was a nightmare to clean up. All the
Yeah,
mud.
it like shattered and stuff too, right?
No, that's a different
Oh.
tragedy.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Different tragedy.
Got to
Different
keep up with the
tragedy.
tragedies.
Sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, I have no refugium. I have one big open sump now. I think life
I
is
like
great.
that idea.
It's simple. I actually am looking to probably put a gigantic skimmer in there now, probably as big as I can fit. I have so much space. The only thing that's tied down is my return pump and my reef mat. So if I need to push my skimmer to the back because I don't want to see it,
Smoyer made the point. It helps keep the skimmer chamber constant. That makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense. And the return pump, right? Otherwise, if your whole thing was one open, your ATO is going to be doing massive swings.
Yeah, but it works for me, and I think I like it. Simplicity is good. My nutrients, something happened where you have a refugium to manage nutrients, but the minute you get rid of the refugium, my nutrients started bottoming out.
Yeah.
Really?
My nitrates have stabilized at about 8.5, and my phosphates are hovering. I have to dose phosphates now, which is like kind of weird.
I always have these surges where like I have to dose it, and then all of a sudden like it just keeps going up, and I stop dosing it, and then it bottoms out. So I can't ever seem to figure out like the right levels.
I have 2 hydros auto feeders. One has flakes, one has pellets. I'm feeding 8 times a day, 4 each, and the phosphates do
I
not
might be
go up.
feeding that many times. I have antheas; they eat a lot.
Yeah, the nitrates
very
keep
little
going up, but the phosphates still keep bottoming out. So whatever is happening still keeps happening. But I'm okay with it. I think, life stuff happened.
That's
and I
really
haven't been
interesting that
messing
you
with the
took it
tank.
out and things got.
I think I stopped. Like everything is going through the filter roller now. I optimize it a little bit.
Did you have that before?
No, I had some unfiltered water going into the refugium.
It's interesting how we think nothing else changed.
Nothing
I never
changed,
said
but
We
this is
were
this,
talking
this,
about
this,
this
this.
earlier.
Not me. I said I changed my sump. I cut my baffles out. Not me. I made a major change.
Nothing changed on the tank. I just removed my refugium and my baffles.
And added
Not you, I know. I'm just joking.
No. I'm gonna tell you a
roller.
joke. I'm gonna tell you a joke.
Ooh, I love jokes.
Yeah.
I'm related to what we just said. So a long time ago, we, a long time ago, a reefer started a live stream, right? And it was just like, hey, my tank nutrients are going up, and I don't know why. Dev's laughing because he probably know. And then through the course of the live stream, the guy's like, somebody asks like, hey man, where's your skimmer? He's like, oh man, like I'm working too hard. I took it off because I couldn't empty it. So I'm like, okay, cool. So somebody said, hey man, where's your algae scrubber? He's like, oh man, like the algae kept slopping off, so I took it out. And then somebody's like, hey man, so you're doing water change? He's like, nah man, I'm trying this no water change thing. So you basically like removed all filtration from the tank. And then you're worrying why you're having an algae problem. So
This happened. I saw something similar to this like years ago.
Probably the story.
No, something different. But there was on someone's stories on Instagram. I was scrolling through them, and he was talking about how he kept having crashes, or like how his corals were dying, and he didn't know what was going on. And I was like, oh, poor guy. And like in the same story reel, so it's like within 24 hours, he shows his perfect way of doing water changes that he's never had issues with.
Oh,
you know this story.
I remember.
Because I was
doing
horrified.
water
I
changes
was like,
in the
you
tank.
idiot.
He was doing water change. He was mixing the salt in the sump while
he
the
was
tank was
taking out
running.
he was taking out the water, filling it up with RDI where it needed to be, taking and like putting in the salt and letting it mix in the over like behind it or whatever. And I was like getting ready to help him, and then that story plays. I was horrified. If I must have told the story many times because it's interesting how many times people are like, "Oh, this like I have all these issues," and then they're like, "Oh, I'm doing this and it works for me," and it's like, is it?
Is it really?
It doesn't seem like it is. Like, and how people can't connect the things they're doing to the things that are happening.
But all the parameters are good.
Yeah, all the parameters are good.
What
Nothing's
parameters?
changed.
All of
Everything's
them are good.
stable. I'm just making my salinity drop all the way down and come all the way back up.
Luckily,
swings
I have
everything.
friends. Luckily have friends who will tell me the truth, right? So like, thank God for you guys, because I'll ask you'll ask a question like, "Hey, should I do this?" And Greg will be like, "Isn't that the third skim?" Like he won't ever tell me no, but he'll like, "Isn't that the third skimmer
what
you
that is,
used
though?
this year?" And I'm like,
here's the thing,
"You're
though.
right."
Greg asks questions. Anybody who is giving good advice is asking good questions to the person they're giving advice to. Because, like, things happen, like the guy I was talking about, where it's like, well, tell me how you do water changes, right? Like, you have to ask questions because, like you were saying earlier, like, we get so used to doing something, we don't realize that, like, we come blind to it.
Mm.
And so, I think that's why Greg is so good at giving advice, because he always gives such good advice.
Or
And Dad gives good advice too. He's like, I don't know, it depends on blah 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 blah.
Blah 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 blah.
or
Try.
sometimes
Exactly.
it's something we've
Verbatim.
been doing for years, and we don't realize that it's been. I've come across a few friends, acquaintances that maybe when they started out their tank, 2 power heads sitting on the side was enough. But man, as that tank grows, you need more flow. And I don't think you've heard people say like, I've been doing that thing for 2 years and I've never had problems till now. Well, yeah, when everything was baby corals, that was fine. But once they became adult corals, they need more food and more nutrients, right? So you see that not all the time. Let me dial that back, but you'll see it sometimes. Where like, hey, it started out one way, but you kind of have to change. But I think to some extent we all do it. We just don't realize. Yeah.
Change is hard.
Water changes are hard. That's why you need the O-ring. I need something else. No, I need
The
something else.
O-hook.
I said O-ring, but O-ring is something. That's why
Yeah.
you need the
It's
O.
not a ring. It's
Use
a
O-rings on your
hookah.
unions.
You need the hookah.
hookah. It's like a hookah, but you don't smoke it.
Are you?
I'm getting slap happy.
Yeah. And then this is not glued on, so you can deflect the flow wherever you need it, because so you can hook and deflect, and this doesn't ever fall off, by the way. So yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Patent
I'm
it.
selling these $9.99 plus shipping for anybody who wants them.
Oh, that's cheap for the
Yeah,
that
I was
plumbing
gonna
and
say,
that
especially if it comes
valve?
to
How much
unions,
did you pay for that?
That's like
valve?
$1 profit. You're so very kind.
Greg's like, I was
That
like, oh,
that's
crap.
why I don't
Wait,
have a
shipping
business.
included?
That's why I don't have a business.
He's looking at it like crap.
Working all day. He's like, I made $6 today, guys. All right.
That's why I don't have a business, because I'd be losing money. I'd be the person. I'd be the one foot in the garage person, right?
They'd be
I'd
selling
that
like
person.
hotcakes.
I don't know how. I'm just selling so many of these. Not even people in the aquarium industry, just plumbers like my plumbing.
It's one weird trick.
You can sell them to refill above ground pools and stuff. I mean, so many markets.
What's wrong
I heard
though?
something. Sorry, no. I thought I heard something. Thought I heard something.
Nightmares.
Tank leaking.
Yeah,
Water
I heard
trickle.
water. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Life is good, man.
It's good. Well,
A
guys,
loss on each cell, Josh Allen said.
Has anyone tried the new Tunze Osmolator?
Yes, I have
How do you
two.
like it? Really?
Yes. So I have two saltwater tanks over here that are little. Let's see if I can turn this so y'all can see it.
I need to hook this
You'll
up.
see my two saltwater tanks over there.
yes.
Oh.
So I have like my little ATO container down there, and I got tired
Of my two little tanks always needing to be refilled, so I got two of them. I love them.
Yeah, I need the extension cord, because where I ideally want to install it, in Europe, they sell the extension cables like here, where you can extend it another like 5 meters. I think I want it, but yeah, I need to install this and like do it. 5-year warranty. Are you kidding me?
It's great. Oh my god, it's great.
I haven't used.
And the old one I used to have this issue where, because it would run for like 30 seconds, and anytime there was a power outage, it would run for 30 seconds. So like I would accidentally, it was in my like, what you might call it, the thing that you plug a lot of stuff into.
Power bar.
There's some words I know and there's some words I don't.
You're like,
My
here's a
power
very
strip.
scientific definition, but the thing with the cords.
You know what I mean. And I would bump it with my feet and I would accidentally turn it off and I'd turn it back on. And so it would like constantly be overflowing. And this one is so precise and it actually stops when it hits the line. I really like it. They're really good. They're not new though anymore, are they? They're like 2 years old.
No. Well, they took ages to come out since they were announced. But
Oh, the first one I've had for like 2 years. So, and I just bought a second one.
I like the new pumps because they're way quieter, but I haven't tried the new ATO.
It's
I love the
awesome.
pumps. I love the pumps. I'm using one to feed my calcium reactor. You can basically strip the wires and use it anything from like a Tunze Osmolator. It's the same voltage, and that's what I'm using. I called Roger, and Roger said like they're made for continuous duty, so it's fine using them.
I hooked one up to the 24-volt port on my Apex with like a little buck converter to like cut the voltage in half, and it works pretty good, pushing up
Yeah.
the floor.
Yeah. You can
Y'all,
these
Greg?
things have like block protection too, so if something gets in there, it'll shut off. I like them. They work really well.
They're nice.
Yep.
Y'all, Greg O is lying. Greg is on vacation.
Is that what he's calling it these days? To me, it's just MIA. Like when someone's missing, they're missing. Vacation.
He was definitely
Reefing.
posting beautiful pictures of him and his wife for their 25th anniversary.
Well,
That's a
like
big
on
one. That's an important
vacation,
one.
anniversary, MIA to me it means the same thing. Like he's not
It
here.
means he's not answering your calls. So
It means he's
busy.
MIA. Like honestly, I didn't try to call him. I was just glad he's not around. He's MIA. So in my book,
Everybody's going to think there's drama. Oh, said that he's glad there's no Greg.
I think we should spread
Ruthless.
that.
Ruthless.
Greg is MIA.
Dun, dun, dun.
And O's happy about it.
He took this is I was
like an
gonna
inside
give a
job.
horrible joke. I was gonna give a horrible joke and say he took his crypto winnings and he left, but that's like
Or you took him out and took his crypto winnings. That's how you can afford the extra skimmers every year.
we were roasting him on Instagram the other day. Like we went in, somebody was like, he must have loved that new Jeep. It was
Good times.
I wasn't on his live, Elisa. That was a different guy. Like that guy had facial hair. I'm bald. I have low
Bald
cut.
doesn't mean you have facial hair. Those are two different areas.
You know what? I was hoping you didn't hear that. I was trying to
I had to
backtrack.
take any opportunity.
Guys,
Yep. Good times.
I'm sorry. I wish from my end at least we taught more sciencey stuff, but that's all my fault. I'll take the blame for this stream. Sorry,
We
guys.
talked about some genetics and passive
We'll,
transport and traces and bacterial biological pathways. I think we hit several check marks. You don't even remember.
I feel better now.
Yeah. My students used to be like, when are we going to get to the hard stuff? And I'm like, we've been doing the hard stuff. I just tricked you guys into thinking it was fun.
And then what did they say?
Oh.
It's like, thank you.
No one ever says thank you.
Never. I'm never thanked. I'm like, do so much for other people.
Crazy.
Yeah, 25 years. Did you really not know this? Oh, I thought you were being silly.
No, I knew. Well, no. He's MIA.
Married.
His 25th anniversary. Congratulations.
In anniversary?
But MIA. He's MIA. He's not MIA just means he's not here. So he's enjoying his anniversary, but in my book, when you're not here, you're MIA.
MIA POW.
Yeah. It was
Prisoner of
good
wedding?
meeting Alisa in Reefapalooza, California. She is so nice, one of the nicest
That's
people.
mean. She is really nice, isn't she? I like her.
She's too nice. You know, one of those people that are too nice.
Like me? No, I'm kind of mean to you sometimes. So
Yeah, so you're not. Alisa's. There's you, and then she's way nicer. Just saying. I think Than is rubbing off on you.
it's funny though, isn't it?
The sense of humor.
I've always thought it was funny. Now other people start to think I'm funny.
All right,
Passing out.
kids.
Good night, Chris.
Well. Let's see if there's any last minute questions.
Yeah, any last minute questions? I have a baby
nope.
crying in the background and all
I'm
kinds of
sorry.
chaos.
Brennan's
Acro Killer
weird.
doesn't
Okay,
use a
Greg,
roller
you heard it
anymore.
here first.
I'm sorry. Listen, guys. Thank you. It was fun. Always is fun. Invite me anytime.
Sounds
There's
good.
a night.
He
Oh, that's
does invite you all the time.
It's true.
Well, he invites you too, but you're just busy.
Also true.
Continue to invite us, and maybe we'll be able to be on again.
Well, I think being an hour later with like kids and everything else kind of works out a bit better.
Yes, because at 7 I would have been having problems.
I apologize for all the UK guys because it's like far too late for you guys. But it seems to work out otherwise. But yeah, thanks for
They'll watch it on the replay.
True.
And when is the pod, Dev? Come listen.
You know what?
We've been saying take the episodes and make a podcast. And come on, dude. Like, just all you need to do is take the audio and put it in a podcast.
You know what?
Like he has any extra time. Oh, we could do it too, and we haven't.
Do you see that my mixer and do you see that little red record light? I've actually hit record for the first time for a stream to separate out the audio. So there's hope of it. There's hope. This is the first step. I preemptively been like, oh, I'm going to record the audio separately to like make it easier for later.
You know what? The first step in admitting If no, the first. Okay, all right. Sorry.
The first step is admitting it. Yes, I'm. We'll get there. But yes, thank you two for joining me tonight. It was lots of fun as always.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you everyone who stuck around for 2 hours of shenanigans. Fish Ventura, Dedicated Reefer, Lisa, thank you guys for super chats. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
Have a good night.
Have a good
Thank
night.
you for
Good night.
Hit the like button, subscribe. Check out Odo and Brandi. See you guys next week's stream.